Okay, in the last lecture, we had looked at the mechanism of superconductivity, namely the Bardeen, Cooper, and Schrieffer theory, a very successful theory for which they obtained the Nobel Prize, for which they got the Nobel Prize, which basically explained that superconductivity occurs because of pairing of electrons. Electrons get paired, they get each electron joins to another electron and the neighboring electron and so on. They all get paired to each other, and so they move like one single entity, and therefore it is very difficult to shake or vibrate this train of electrons which are moving, where one electron is coupled to the other electron. And the basic entity which is conducting charge, which is conducting current inside the superconductor, is the Cooper pair, which is a paired state of electron. And how is this paired state generated? So the basic mechanism of BCS theory explained this, that when an electron passes through a lattice, then it vibrates the lattice. Basically what happens is that when the electron passes through, it changes the charge distribution, and the positive ions leave the location of the lattice from their original position and try to screen it, and the electron moves further, but then their density of positive charges has momentarily increased, and the next incoming electron sees these positive charge clouds and therefore gets attracted to this positive charge cloud. This electron must come in before the ions relax back to their original charge neutral position. Okay, then only this second electron will get attracted to the first electron through the positive charge cloud. So this is basically the illustration of this process, that the electron, so let me come here, that the first electron actually goes through the lattice and generates a positive charge fluctuation which will relax back to the charge neutral position. But before this charge cloud here relaxes back to the charge neutral position, a second incoming electron comes in and it sees, then gets attracted to this positive charge cloud. So you effectively say that these two electrons are effectively coupled by this intermediate positive charge cloud fluctuation. This intermediate fluctuation that is generated inside the lattice is coupling these two electrons and generates the binding between the two electrons. Energetically speaking, basically what is happening is that you are exciting a lattice vibration. The incoming electron actually causes a lattice vibration, and the lattice is going to vibrate with a frequency which is the Debye frequency, or you are going to excite phonons of h cross omega d. So basically what is happening is that the incoming electron excites a phonon and creates this charge fluctuation which the other electron experiences and gets coupled to the first electron. And the entire energetics of this process is happening at the Debye frequency, which is the frequency of lattice vibrations, okay, which actually goes into coupling the electrons. So how is this process actually described? How is this coupling process actually described? So you can imagine as if there are two persons and they are throwing a ball to each other. So here this person throws a phonon of h cross omega d and this person accepts it, and then he again throws it back, and so there is a continuous exchange of phonons which is going on between the two systems. So one person emits a phonon and the other person absorbs it, and in the process of this continuous exchange of phonons you actually couple the two system together. The two system are actually bound by exchanging these phonons. So the intrinsic process, what occurs internally, is that when the phonon is excited out of the system, it creates a positive charge fluctuation which is then accepted by the second electron actually absorbs this phonon, and so the two actually get coupled through this intermediate mechanism. And this is the mechanism, and this is the fundamental process of BCS theory, is that the first electron excites a phonon and the second electron absorbs it, and in the process of this excitation and absorption of the phonon, the two particles or the two electrons get coupled to each other. And it is the exchange of these phonons which generates an effective weak attractive potential V between the two electrons, which is responsible for the coupling of the two electrons. So we might actually describe this process where these two people are throwing this ball, and one is throwing the ball, the other is accepting. This entire process may be described in the following diagram, where ek1 and a particle, an incoming electron with momentum k1 and energy ek1, comes in and excites a phonon, and a second electron with momentum k2 and energy ek2 accepts this phonon and they scatter out. So this ek1 particle scatters out with a lower energy because it has excited out a phonon, and this particle which was coming in accepts the phonon and gets excited to a high energy state. So in the process, they have, one has emitted a phonon and the other one has immediately accepted it. Okay, and in this process of exchange of the phonon, they have created an intermediate charge fluctuation which creates the attractive interaction which holds these two particles together. So this process by which the phonon is excited and accepted is responsible for pairing of the electron, and this phonon is a virtual phonon because it is excited and immediately reabsorbed by the another particle. You don't have any free phonons which are floating around inside the material. The phonon which is excited by the electron, it is immediately absorbed by the other incoming electron. So K1 excites a phonon and the K2 immediately accepts it. So it is just that instantaneously there might be a phonon fluctuation which is created, but it is immediately reabsorbed by the other electron. So this is the entire process in which the two particles are actually exchanging exchanging a phonon and getting coupled to each other. Now, can this process of emission and absorption of phonons happen far below the Fermi energy level? This is the first question that we would like to ask. So here is an electron with energy ek1. It excites a phonon out from the system, so it will scatter to a lower energy state. And the second electron which is coming with ek2 out here is going to absorb this. ek2 is going to absorb the phonon which was excited by ek1 and it will go to a higher energy state. So therefore this is going to be the excitation process. Now, can this process of exchange of phonons happen far below the Fermi energy? So if you see, this is your Fermi energy surface. Somehow this line has disappeared. Let me just draw this line. This is your ky line. Okay, so this is kx and ky, and this black circle represents a Fermi sphere. Okay, everything below the Fermi sphere is completely occupied, and anything above the Fermi surface is all vacant. Okay, so this is your Fermi surface EF. This circle, this is now shown in 2 dimension. You can also draw it in 3 dimension and you will get a sphere, but for simplicity's sake I'm just showing it in 2 dimension. Okay, kx and ky. The black is the Fermi surface. Everything below the Fermi surface is completely occupied. There are no vacant states available, and everything above the Fermi surface is completely empty. And let us say that we are doing a discussion at t equal to 0. Okay, so now you are looking at this above excitation process where ek1 is going to go to ek1 prime by exciting a phonon, and ek2 is going to excite to ek2 prime by absorbing the phonon. And the question we ask is that, can this process occur well below the Fermi energy? So here is ek1 and it gives out a phonon and goes to a lower energy state. Its momentum also changes, so it is changing position in this Fermi. So within this it is actually changing position because it is going from one momentum state to another, and its energy is also changing because it is giving out a phonon. So in this process a phonon is emitted, and an electron which is sitting here with ek2 can absorb and go to ek2 prime by accepting the phonon. Now you can see that this process will not occur well below the Fermi energy because there are no vacant states available out here. This is a completely unallowed process. There can be no absorption of energy and there are no vacant states present out here to cause this emission and absorption of phonons. So this process will not occur well below the Fermi energy. It's completely disallowed that such a process can occur well below the Fermi energy. So where can this process really occur? In the momentum space, where will this process of emission and absorption of phonons occur? So this process of emission and absorption of phonons will occur around the Fermi energy in a region of about h cross omega d above and h cross omega d below the Fermi energy. So within a region of h cross omega d from the Fermi surface, this entire process will occur. So what you consider is that this is your Fermi sphere and this is kx and ky axis, and you have your Fermi sphere. Now within this h cross omega d region, you have an electron which has a momentum k1, okay, and energy ek1. It gives out a phonon and comes slightly below the Fermi energy, okay, and here what you consider is that the electrons have so just around the Fermi energy, such excitations are possible. There could be some particles which can be on a slightly higher state, and there are vacant regions below, just below the Fermi energy, but they are all present between h cross omega d of the Fermi energy. So therefore, an electron which is just above the Fermi energy or just at the Fermi energy, it loses its energy and goes from this k1 to k1 prime state and gives out a phonon, whereas an electron which is present just below the Fermi energy accepts this and just goes above the Fermi energy. So all these processes are allowed at the Fermi energy because there are vacant states and empty states which are available. So what you consider is that in a band around the Fermi energy, now there are excited states and vacant states which are energetically possible around the Fermi energy. You cannot do this deep below the Fermi energy because you cannot create such states. It will cost a lot of energy to create a vacant state into which the electron can fall into well below the Fermi energy. So this entire process of an incoming electron exciting a phonon and scattering out, and the second electron absorbing this phonon and scattering out, this entire process can happen only in a region around the Fermi energy where there are excited and vacant states which are within h cross omega d of the Fermi energy. And it is this process of excitation of emitting a virtual phonon and absorbing a virtual phonon which leads to the attractive potential between the electrons. So therefore, when you construct the BCS Hamiltonian through this process, this has a slight error, let me correct it, that this electron which comes in absorbs the virtual phonon, and actually it goes, the arrow is this way. So this electron, okay, and you can also consider the other way, but anyway, for simplicity, we do it this way. So the electron which incoming electron excites the phonon, okay, and all this entire process is occurring in a thin shell of h cross omega d, which is above and below the Fermi energy. And in this region, there is an electron which is slightly at the just above the Fermi energy, which loses energy and comes to a vacant state which is present just below the Fermi energy. And because that's the only way such a transition can occur, so you can excite a phonon, and then electron which is present just below the Fermi energy within h cross omega d accepts this and goes to a state which is just above the Fermi energy where vacant states are anyway available. Okay, so this entire process becomes possible in a thin shell of the order of h cross omega d above and below the Fermi energy, and this leads to the exchange, this allows the exchange of phonons with each other, and finally this gives rise to the attractive interaction, the positive charge fluctuation, the weak attractive interaction which is present between the two electrons which are exchanging these phonons between each other and couples them. So in BCS theory, when we actually work out the BCS theory, we will come across a Hamiltonian in which the potential term, the term which is coupling the K1 and K2 particles, the K1 and K2 particles are going to be exchanging a phonon, and that leads to a weak attractive potential of minus V0 between the two particles. The condition, and the most important condition, is that this attractive potential is generated only when the momentum Ek is within h cross omega d of the Fermi energy. So Ek minus Ef has to be within h cross omega d, then only the particles can exchange the phonons with each other and cause this excitation. You have availability of states which can excite and de-excite and exchange this h cross omega only within h cross omega d of the Fermi energy, and only in this region you have this attractive potential which is created. If the Ek minus Ef is far greater than h cross omega d, then the attractive interaction between these particles is zero. Okay, so these two are very important So this is a very important condition for creating this pairing interaction between the particles, that around the Fermi energy a very weak attractive potential is created, where Ek minus Ef is, if it is within h cross omega d, you can have this excitation and de-excitation of the particles by exchanging virtual phonons with each other, which leads to this attractive interaction of V naught. And for energies of particles which have energies which are far away from the Fermi energy, this sort of an interaction is not possible. And it is this weak interaction which is present around the Fermi energy. BCS showed, or the Bardeen-Cooper-Schrieffer theory showed, that the system becomes unstable towards formation of pairs, namely the particles start pairing with each other. And this was the basic idea of the Cooper pair, that if you create, or around the Fermi energy, if you create this weak attractive interaction, then the system becomes unstable towards formation of Cooper pairs. This was the real amazing picture that was presented by BCS theory, which explained how does pairing occur inside the system. Now, having looked at this condition on energy, that it is only around the Fermi energy, momentum states which are present around the Fermi energy with Ek minus Ef, which is of the order of h cross omega d, only in this region they can exchange these virtual phonons with energy h cross omega d and lead to an attractive interaction. Let us look at what are the other constraints which will lead to the important understanding of the BCS phenomena. This of course leads to pairing, but how does it explain that there is a zeroing out of the density of states, that there are no single electron states available around the Fermi energy? So let us look at that aspect in the next lecture.